if you think back to the time when the company was called UCW, Union Carriage and Wagon. So the company was established in 1957 and built its first electric locomotive in 1964. Through various stages of ownership, has been significant in its contribution, especially most recently up to 2012, 2013, it was supporting Transnet for the 19E and 15E locomotives, as well as, of course, the train assembly. It's 80,000 square meters under roof. We are using more or less under 40,000 squares only for this project, which means that Alstom Ubunye would have sufficient capacity to take on additional projects. Apart from the facility size or the under roof, which is 80,000 squares, the total site square meterage is about 450,000 squares. So there is flexibility to be able to adapt the site to the needs. We have around about 580 employees. Alstom acquired the site in 2016 as part of a JV with some local partners. The PRASA contract that Gibela was awarded, Alstom Ubunye are going to be making the components. So in line with ensuring that the facility would be set to world-class standards, we needed to embark on a site refurbishment activity which has taken approximately 1.5 years to complete. In support of the Gibela contract, we are making practically 25% of the components that go into the trains. And these are, to some extent, quite large components. So we had to redesign the facility in order to cater for the manufacturing, testing, and setup of that equipment. So it required us to go into some significant detail. We've set up robot technology, we've set up multiple world-class equipment in order to manufacture and calibrate the equipment that we will be supplying to Gibela. The program was quite extensive. Again, like I said, it took 1.5 years to set up the site, and a considerable amount of investment had gone into setting this up. As a large OEM, Alstom has sites practically all over the world. We had multiple donor sites, which are sub-sister sites around the world, supplying transfer of technology and their expertise to Alstom Ubunye in order to be able to build the multiple equipment that we needed to in support of the contract. From a site perspective, we are ISO 9001:2015 certified. From a manufacturing perspective and a customer requirement perspective, we are also required to be EN 15085 certified. This talks to the welding operation that we have to conduct. We have recently achieved that certification. We also have the ISO 3834 certification in conjunction with the EN 15085. So, of course, from a delivery perspective, with that certification, you get the relevant acknowledgement of your ability to be able to deliver to the requirements of the customer. That's the first thing. Now, a certification like this is not so common and not so easily attainable. And in South Africa, we're one of the few sites that have got the certification. So it is a big credit to the site. We take EHS very seriously. We have a very structured approach to EHS, and we have a philosophy that is underpinned by AZDP, Alstom Zero Deviation Policy. And there's a governance around that, and there's a certain list of requirements that each site needs to comply with. All sites are audited on a regular basis. With this being a brand new site, when Alstom did the initial AZDP audit, the results were not so favorable. And the site was not seen as compliant to our requirements, Alstom's requirements, in terms of being able to be a manufacturing site. So we've had a series of interventions since 2016. We've aligned and set up a team locally. We've had a massive improvement from what was an unacceptable level to what is very much an acceptable level and in line with our global targets. For the site, there is a combination of imported material versus local material. The KPI for Gibela is to achieve a 65% local content, and Alstom Ubunye is very much in line with supporting Gibela on their initiative. The components we build are the bogies, which means we manufacture the bogie frame, we assemble the bogie, test the bogie, and supply the bogie to Gibela. We also make various boxes, electrical boxes, that being the traction converter boxes, the LV cubicle, which is the low voltage cubicle, the high voltage cubicles. We make the PRASA. PRASA is the Passenger Communication Information System. All in all, we build 87 various types of equipment, or 87 components, plus the PRASA, which comes in 54 kits for a train set. A train set is made up of four motor coaches and 2 trailer coaches, so 6 cars in a train set. Robot technology was significant, so as part of our key requirements, we have some parts of the bogie frame that's actually welded by robot. You will see that we have 2 robots in place in order to support that application. It is to the latest standard, global world-class technology. We also have milling machines that are significant in the process of the frames that we manufacture. We also have 3D dimensioning and measurement to ensure that our frames meet absolutely the specification required for the customer. So that are the most notable pieces of equipment that had to be in place in order to consistently reproduce the quality required for the customer. We are well underway with our ramp-up program. We will be producing over 60 train sets per year, which is 5 train sets per month. In line with our requirements, there's always a fine balance between how much of investment needs to be made versus how to maximize the number of shift operations that we can have. In July, we embarked on a 3-shift program. Not all parts of our plant at this stage will be in our 3-shift program. Some are on single, some are on double, and a few areas will be on triple shift. And Alstom has made a significant investment into Alstom Ubunye, which can be quite a flexible manufacturing facility and adaptable in that it could support multiple transport and mobility solutions for South Africa, Africa and beyond. The significant investment has helped to position Alstom Ubunye for future projects. For example, you've got the possible upcoming train project and a few other rail projects. There are also some potential opportunities sitting in the rest of Africa, potentials that could be gateways for Alstom through Alstom Ubunye. We've been set up, the site, Alstom Ubunye site, has been set up to offer a full range of solutions in line with the mobility requirements. And it's not necessarily rail only. We could also look into the future of electric buses and other mobility solutions. So the opportunities could be endless. It's probably the perfect first step into the rest of Africa with these opportunities. We know that we will not achieve any of the success we have without our people, motivated, aligned, trained, skilled people. Alstom, when we acquired the Alstom Ubunye site, we brought with it a legacy. The UCW facility and CTE facility prior to this has been a long-standing facility in the history of South African rail. And we have a strong connection to the local communities. From the local Ekurhuleni zones, more than 80% of our people are from those zones that are employed at Alstom Ubunye. From the local area, meaning the Donota, Duduza, Nigel and Alra Park area, we have about 51% of our people from these areas. So we take the local communities very seriously in our consideration in terms of job opportunities and business development, as well as CSRI activities. So it is a big part of what we do. In terms of our recruitment, not only we had to take on the existing employees that were at Alstom Ubunye, we also had to recruit and freshen up the workforce, and we've taken a lot of youth into our company. And we've had to go through an aggressive training program to get the team ready for the new requirements. The new requirements are tough, and it required us to go through various training and assessment of our people. In line with this, we've developed a welding school, and we are now in the process of accrediting this welding school. Why do we want to accredit it? Well, firstly, we needed to train our own people, and secondly, upon accreditation, what we want to do is be able to open the doors to the communities, train, tag and release people that and position them for future opportunities. In terms of meeting the communities, there's been a lot of frustration in this zone of Gauteng, in that job opportunities are not so readily available. So companies like Alstom are really under pressure to be able to provide as much as we can in terms of those opportunities. So we meet on a monthly basis with the community leaders, and we discuss with them what are the opportunities that are upcoming and how we can further bridge the gap and assist in the way we can. Of course, we can only do what we can, and I think it's appreciated. Alstom's contribution is appreciated from that perspective. We also do quite a bit from a CSR, CSI perspective for the communities. We have a CPNL Wisishle welding school. It was part of a sponsorship that was taken up by Alstom Foundation. We've supported significantly over the last years this welding school. We've also taken on a new project since last year, which was the Chance Orphanage in Danota. And we've decided to make that our 3-year project where we've supported them with developing their entertainment area. We've now recently launched a computer room for them, and we plan various other initiatives with them. These activities and initiatives are really well received by the communities and as well the schools itself. And we'll continue to do that. We take our social responsibility seriously, and we believe that it is part of what we have to do when we are in a local community. We are in a business that is project-based. So, unlike the automotive industry where you are really in a completely different manufacturing phase, producing for a market, these types of contracts that Alstom engage with really come along not so often. I mean, if you look at this contract is the single largest rail contract globally. Not just for Alstom, just globally. How many more of these would come along? Not many. Now, beyond the 600 train sets for PRASA, there could be a further order of another 600 trains. It's an option. Again, with it being project-based, you have to design your requirements around that. What you have to make sure is that South Africa has a pipeline of talent and skills to support that, which is why the first step Alstom's made is around the welding school. It's not where we will stop, it's where we've started. We have to have a dual focus, not only what would happen in the future, but based on what our changing customer needs will be. What we produce today certainly may not be what would be needed in the coming years. It could be completely a change towards the electrical powered vehicles, and that is the global shift. You have to be aware that in Africa, a lot of Africa rail is not electrified. How would we cater for that? Could hydrogen come into play? Where do we position ourselves to tackle the next growth market, which is Africa?